Welcome back to the Commander's Declassified podcast. We've got a big night ahead of us. I'm Brian. I'm here with Eric. Eric, how are you, man?
Oh man, well, today's been a good day. If you are a fan of this football team, I can assure you of that. How about you?
Today has been an excellent day. Riding along on the Beltway here, 495. I get this glorious news that the team has in principle agreed to sell to the Harris Rails Magic Johnson group, and that was probably the best news I could have gotten today. What did you think when you heard it?
I was just happy. I kind of assumed it was coming when the thing broke about Bezos yesterday. Once once we decided, or once it was kind of out there that there wasn't going to be another giant whale coming in to bid, it became pretty obvious that means the sale is very close. The announcement is very close, and obviously it came today. So wasn't surprised, but nonetheless quite elated, as most fans are at this point, because what a disaster the past 25 years or so have been. Daniel Snyder had just ran this franchise into the ground and just peed all over the grave, all over the ashes. It's just a terrible quarter century of bad mismanagement,
Yeah.
one embarrassment after another, scandals. Just this team is the franchise has become a joke. Nothing against the players that have been here; they're trying to make the most out of it. The coaches are trying. Most of the coaches are trying to do the best with what they can. But I mean, just the shadow that dude cast over this organization has just been the worst. I'm so glad that it's finally coming to an end, because I don't know. I feel for well, you should feel for me, because I remember this team being good, but any
Right.
fans that any fans that like don't remember this team being even good but are still fans, I got nothing but respect for you, because I have no idea what's keeping you here. But great news for everybody all around.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you're right, like we've had to endure some of the just insane things here in DC. I mean, let alone like the crazy decisions that were made on the field, but just like you said, one scandal after the other, and it never ended. Each time there was a scandal, you thought, well, it can't get any worse. Oh, but it did. It did get worse. Each year it got worse, and they just piled up until Snyder had no place to go now. Like this is all of his own doing. No one else did this to him. He brought this on himself. And he's finally, I don't even know if you can even call it a punishment, right? He's getting ready to collect $6 billion. I'm sure, a lot of that will, Bank of America, he owes them $1 billion, and who knows other legal fees and creditors that he may owe, but he's going to make a ton of money of this. But he's going to be known as, essentially the worst owner in sports, if not, one of the worst owners. He should be the worst owner ever. And now that he's gone, like anything's possible now. Like if we want to legitimately think about having a 14 win season, going to an NFC championship game, winning a Super Bowl, like all that's possible again, with a new owner, with new management, with new coaches, all those kinds of things that are all on the horizon now. But it, great news to hear that today. Now I know everybody listening, they're still kind of reporting it's paperwork's not signed. But like you mentioned, when I heard yesterday that, or maybe it was the day before, that Bezos was out, that was the last whale, the last guy who could actually push that bid up significantly, more so than the Harris Rails Johnson group. So once that happened, I knew right away, okay, well, this has to get announced here soon, because it's not any of these other guys. They all have essentially the same kind of money. This was going to be it. So I don't know about you, but I thought once I heard Bezos, I was like, okay, we're really at the finish line now. This should get announced, and then today, here it comes.
Yeah, very exciting. Very exciting news just for everybody. I can't even I can't imagine what the joy that's going through the fan base. I'm generally a pretty reserved guy. I'm not a super emotional guy, but I can imagine a lot of people are crying tears of joy. I mean, there's just people that have just lived and died by this organization for way longer than I've been alive, and they fall fought through it. And I know I had some fans that were like, "Look, this is going to be the rest of my life under this dude," and it was like a depressing thought because they were so emotionally invested in this team, and I love this team. I don't really follow a lot of other sports teams closely. Like I'm a casual follower of other sports, but I mean, this is the only team I really care about, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yep.
so it's so great that I don't know what kind of an owner Josh Harris is going to be. Um, I know that it's going to be really hard for him to top how bad of an owner Daniel Snyder has been. So, he's at least got that feather in his cap. He's just, if he's not a complete disaster, we've already improved, right? I'm
Agreed.
excited, to have Magic Johnson on board. I think is awesome. Financially probably not that big of a thing, but it's credibility, right? Because Johnson's Magic's one of the all-time greats in the NBA. I mean, you talk about like top 10 players in the NBA, he's always in that conversation. He's got multiple championships. He's got championships as an owner with the Dodgers, with the LA Sparks, I think. And there's just that credibility that he brings. It's almost like the Jay-Z thing that was linked to Bezos for a while. It's just somebody that's going to draw. It's going to draw people to. It's going to draw players. It's going to draw agents. It's going to put a buzzer on the team. I think that's fantastic. The other two guys on the checks, get a stadium built. That's job. Let Magic be the face of the organization. I hope they can do that, or at least be front and center anytime there's a thing. He needs to be there because it's a gesture of goodwill toward the fan base. Because I don't know anybody outside of Boston who doesn't like Magic Johnson.
Yeah.
Even if you don't like him, there's a respect there, right? So I'm really excited to have that aspect of it, and just the fact that Daniel Snyder is finally going to be gone, and he's out of the country. That's even better. He's Europe's
Yeah.
problem now. Let him ruin
Yeah.
businesses over.
Yes, that's exactly my thought. Let the British deal with him for a few
I had a
decades.
soccer team, destroy them for a while.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
Liverpool.
Well, he better be careful because if he owns or if he tries to buy a soccer team, they're real serious about their football over there, and they might not do too well there with Snyder. So yeah, let him be their problem. But just like you said, I think this is really probably the best ownership group that we could have gotten outside of maybe financially, with Bezos. I think you're right. Magic Johnson has been successful at just about everything he's done, and he is a great face of an organization, of a franchise, and that's something that we need. Right? We haven't had an owner who was relatable, who was as forward facing, friendly, likable as Magic Johnson at all. We've had literally the opposite. We had an owner who was despised, that people just, got angry at the sight of him. So having Magic Johnson there, to kind of be that face, I think is great. His experience with owning teams will certainly help us. Harris, his teams, while maybe not championship level with the Phillies or not Phillies, with the 76ers and his hockey team.
The
Um,
Devils, not
yeah,
disasters.
exactly. They're productive teams, right? They compete, and they're typically in it for at least most of their season, or if not, they make the playoffs. So I think from that standpoint, it's good. And then I think Rails probably just brings more money to the group, and hopefully those guys can start getting onto the business of rebuilding this team, because there's a lot to be rebuilt, right? I think a lot of the infrastructure of the team, the scouting department, how they pay executives and scouts and people, and retaining front office people, smart people, analytics people. I think all of that stuff is about to change. I think they're going to come in and make a lot of changes and evaluations. In particular, this coaching staff. I think that'll be a big thing that gets looked at here. And do you think this group is going to make any changes coming in here, right off the gun, or you think they're just going to, just kind of evaluate this year and then at the end of the season make all their changes? Oh, looks like maybe Eric froze up there a little bit. But for me, I definitely think that this new group is going to look to come in to make a splash, make a change. Now, is that something that's going to happen, day one before training camp? No, probably not enough time for that to happen. But I definitely think they are going to be looking at everything, from the roster itself, from the coaching staff to the front office to the analytics department, to the scouting department, social media team, like all of it. I think all of those uh, things are on the table. But it's great now that we have a new group who will be coming in at some point to get that done. So for me, that is something I can't wait for. If you guys have questions, let me know. I'm letting Eric back into the stream here. Eric, I don't know if you caught any of my last questions before you cut out there.
Yeah, the Dan Snyder, the traffic destroyed the internet at my house. Apparently, he's
People are
the
already celebrating.
FiOS.
Yeah,
Yeah,
everybody's
the
online.
Verizon is overwhelmed with celebratory tweets about Daniel Snyder going. Sorry
Yeah,
about that. No,
it,
I missed all of your questions.
yeah, and I don't even remember my question. I'm so happy now. But no, what I was asking was, do you think that this group comes in and says, we know they're going to make changes. That's a given. Do you think right off the bat though that they make changes, or do they say, you know what, we'll go ahead, keep everything as is. We'll let Ron, muck around for a season, maybe half the season before we start actually making some changes. Do you think, or do they start here in the next month?
No, I can't imagine they make any drastic changes in the upcoming season. It just doesn't make sense. It's so late into the offseason. You're already starting your offseason workouts at this point. The draft is right around the corner. Like it's way too late to just revamp everything at this point. So I think, we have our lame duck year of 23, which kind of we've been calling all off season. We don't know if if Sam Howell's going to turn out to be anything, but if he doesn't, who cares? At this point, this season, anything good that happens this season is just gravy because things are going to be
Yeah.
massively different come 2024. So, yeah, I don't think any big changes are right around the corner. I think the offseason program will continue as it's kind of an as you were situation, and the big changes will come after the season.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I think they will do a wait and see and a kind of eval approach to it. Le, how are you?
Hey, I just want to, I'm on the road, as you guys know, but I just want to stop in and say it's a victory today, right? This is a
That's
big
right.
day. This
We're
is a
one
big
zero.
day. We got our team back, and I heard, Eric and you guys, and you talked about it earlier, but like there are fans that have only grown up in this
Yeah,
that look at us when we talk about the glory. And I was very young during the glory days, but they talk about they listen to us talk about the glory. It's like, what are you talking about, right? They've never seen it.
Yep.
It can be real for them now. Magic Johnson is a real winner, and we didn't have any winners in our organization. None. The only time we had winners in the organization was when Joe Gibbs came back. And as much as we all love Joe Gibbs, it was a different football game. It was different NFL when he came back. Now we have winners at the top of the organization, and hopefully they start filling our organization with winners from the top down, and we can turn this thing around. So, Eric, I'm not a big emotional guy either, but I could not be more happy. And when this whole sale process started, I didn't believe it. I didn't think it was going to happen. But I think I was arguing with you. I was like, "There's no way it's going to happen. He'll never sell. He didn't
yeah,
have to sell. It happened. I'm eating
yeah,
crow right now. It happened. I could not be more happy to have this right now because this is absolutely massive for our franchise. And I don't think people really understand the magnitude of this, of how big of a deal this is when it comes to how NFL owners impact franchises. For the last 20, 30 years, we've had to say, well, the coaches got to figure it out, right? Despite the ownership. But that's impossible to do. Any organization with bad leadership is going to fail, period. You can't succeed despite bad leadership. Now, hopefully, we have good leadership. Hopefully, we have an owner or an ownership group that trusts the people they hired to do their jobs because Snyder never did. He always had his cronies around making decisions, undercutting the people in charge. And now we can just rest and relax and just focus on football. As a podcast, as a podcaster, a media content producer, I am so thrilled that our conversations will be primarily focused on football from here forward. I can't tell you how happy I'm about this whole situation. That's all I wanted to say because I'm gonna get back on the road and I don't want to start freezing up on you guys. But you guys doing a great job. Declassified forever. Peace.
The
that
phone lines
was
are open. Shout
yeah.
out. It's Ray in Oxon Hill calling in. I like it. It's like a
That
roll
was
call.
awesome. Ellie was absolutely right. Especially you and Ellie were right about the younger fans, right? The people who just haven't seen it. I remember it. To me, it's more like a dream because I can kind of remember it. I know some of it, but it doesn't feel like I wasn't there. I wasn't a teenager in those days. I wasn't an adult. So this is great. It can't be understated. I know, unfortunately, I wish we were talking about wins and we were talking about championships, but hey, this season, this is our championship. And now everything is possible. All the things that we want to do as a football team moving forward can actually happen. We can find the right general manager, head coach, quarterback of the future, whoever they are. We can do all of those things on there. With this move, anything, I know some people got excited again about Lamar Jackson and things like that. We don't think anything like that's going to happen, right?
It's hard to say. Like I just don't. Lamar's still out there. Um, I just don't know that new ownership is going to want to put themselves in the hole of, not necessarily in the hole because I mean Jackson's a fantastic quarterback, but you're giving up. You've got a team to rebuild, and you're giving up a ton of resources right off the bat. Kind of putting yourself in the bind with the salary cap, even though you can get around the salary cap. I get it, but with draft picks and everything you'd have to give up, I don't see it. I won't rule it out because I don't know anything about these guys yet. Maybe Lamar wants to come play for Magic and whatever. I don't know. It's a little far fetched to me, but it's not out of the question. It wouldn't surprise me, I don't think, to see something like that. But it's definitely they would be wearing they'd be flexing right off the bat if they forced Ron to make a trade like that because he clearly wasn't going to be interested in that.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this group strikes me as a group that thinks about their decisions and they plan things out. I don't see them jumping off the bat to force a quarterback onto Rivera and onto a coach that they probably aren't going to move forward with. Like it's very hard for me to see them saying, "Okay, Ron, you're our guy for the next 5 to 6 more years." I think they probably have designs on a coach or already have in their head a list of guys that they want to target come this off season. So I think this is a group that will absolutely make a big move. It's just not going to be right now. So I think it'll probably be the Ron show here for a little bit. But what I can see though happening is I think there may be a influx of a little bit of new money. So there may be, hey, maybe there's a free agent left out there that we might be able to sign non-quarterback related, offensive lineman maybe, I don't know, but I can see something like that happening here over the next couple of weeks, couple of months. Maybe a veteran gets cut after the draft, a big name or something like that. I could see a signing like that for a little bit of money with this new group. But what else are we missing here with this ownership
Well,
change?
I think Yam had a good question that he put up about he wants to know the location of the new stadium.
Oh yeah, sure.
I, for one, there is no better location than the RFK site. It is obviously historically from a team perspective, it's massive, but even that, just like infrastructure wise, you've got 3 metro lines coming into one spot right there at the Armory. That's way better than sticking it out at the end of the Silver Line, where you've got one line in, one line out. You've got multiple ways in and out. It's right off 295. There's just a ton of ways in. Now it needs to be upgraded. Parking will be an issue, but parking was an issue before, right? Build a garage. Who cares?
Oh yeah.
There's ways around that. I think that's ideally the best spot for a new stadium, and I hope that's back into play as the DC officials have kind of hinted at moving forward that without Dan Snyder involved, it could very well be in play. And maybe if not, maybe some better real estate in Virginia, maybe down by the casino in Maryland. There's spots you can put it, but I can't think of a better spot to put it than the RFK site.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Shout out to Dale. Shout out to Ref the District, to Yam, everybody there in the chat. But yeah, you're right. Right, the ideal place is DC. I know it's going to be a tough climb because they've got to convince Congress to give the land back to DC, and then DC than to the Commanders. And something that's going to be off the table, which I think is probably going to hold up any kind of movement on it, is you can't build like the little city, right? A lot of these new stadiums come with its own little city of shops, restaurants, bars, nightlife, to make it a 365-day a year profit center and not just a 3-month profit center during the football season. They're not going to be able to do anything like that near RFK, and because of that, that's going to severely limit the money that comes back to a new owner who's going to have had to drop, probably a couple of billion on a new stadium. So that's something that I think is probably going to hold up any kind of back to DC thing. But you're right; it does. All this stuff is back in play now. Everything, sponsorships, all those sponsorships that the team has lost over the last couple of years, those are now back in play with Snyder being gone. Being able to get top talent in the front office, players, all those different things, I think are all back in play now. Dale, new stadium in a few years, draft in 2 weeks. Exciting time in DC. Yeah, Dale's absolutely right. It is exciting because right now, the sky is clear, the sun's out. Anything is possible now with this franchise, and that's just great. With this news here, what, if anything, changes with Ron's process here over the next couple of weeks until the draft? Really, it's just what they still got to focus on the draft and shore up their rankings and their board, right?
Yeah, I don't see from a football perspective, unless you're getting a directive, you got to proceed as you've been proceeding. Like I said, it's so far along in the off season. Mini camps are starting up, or OTAs rather are starting up, and the draft is right around the corner. So there's just no reason to change what you're doing because you finally have some clarity above. If anything, it should reinforce what you're doing. You at least know that you understand the direction the franchise is heading, or you will in the coming days or weeks when you meet with the team officials. But yeah, you got to just finalize your draft board. Keep scouring the waiver wires and free agent markets and all that good stuff, and just proceed as if you're rolling in with Dan Snyder as your owner, but with the optimism that you're not rolling in with Dan Snyder as your owner. I cannot stress what a disaster that dude has been for so long, and it just makes me happy that he's gone. The only thing better, I think, would be if he just got the team taken away from him, and he had to like got just he got voted out and couldn't sue and lost all. I mean, you don't want to wish bad things on people, but maybe a little bit on Dan Snyder. Just
yeah, if it was like
have to sell his yacht, that kind of good stuff, just to make ends meet. I would be okay with that, but this is fine. I'll take this, no problem.
Yeah, a public voting of each owner, going up to like a ballot box,
like
saying,
the emperor, just like each owner comes over,
exactly.
just gives the big thumbs down.
Yeah. They all give the thumbs down publicly to be televised, and Snyder would have to kind of walk home after that. But no, you are right. This cannot be understated. I mean, us as fans have been put through so much embarrassment, right? Like I'm sure everyone, we've all been somewhere and we've had to say, well, who's your team? Oh, I'm the Chargers. I'm a 49ers fan. I'm a Cowboys fan. I'm a Commanders fan. Who are the Commanders? That tape. And it's that's gone now, right? Whatever you think about the name, the embarrassment, the stain of Dan Snyder is gone now. It's a fresh start. It will be a chance to kind of rewrite kind of some of the awful history here these last 20 plus years, and start a real new path, a real new chapter in this team's history. So I'm excited. I can't wait for it. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here? We'll have more coming up this week or next week about the sale and some other things that are exciting. I think we've got an interview coming up too next week. But anything else you can think of before we jump off here?
Now we find out if the team is going to get rebranded again. Personally, I don't think it is, but I can't just deal with another 2 years of people screaming names and ideas that they think are original. So just, an FYI to the fans out there, like Redskins with a potato as a mascot is not original. It's been thought of before. Okay.
Yeah.
Red Wolves, I get it. Yes, fine. Red Tails, terrible name. Much respect to the Tuskegee Airmen, but just don't name your team Red Tails. Terrible idea. just I don't know, man. I don't see it happening. I don't know if I'm mentally ready for another, however long that takes of arguing over. So, just for my sanity, I hope the team doesn't rebrand. Everybody will get used to Commanders eventually.
Yeah, Charles
Charles,
Tate.
he wants it in stone. I get you, man. I see it. I feel you.
I know, Charles. My background has been sales, and one of the things they tell you is don't count. Don't get excited before you have that purchase order in your hands. Yes, I agree with you. I need that final confirmation, but I think we're okay. I think you can let yourself dream a little bit and get excited because we are at that point. What we need to be talking about now is who and when and where is this parade going to be? It will be in downtown DC. I'm going to go down there. Hopefully, you guys will too. Let's get that planned. Thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you next week. We've got a bunch of things coming. We've got an interview. Hopefully, watch our social medias. We'll be telling you about who that is and who's coming up. And we will catch you next time.